Hi, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the arm force field method. But in this case, I'm going to talk specifically about using the arm force field in the Excel document. There's a little bit of difference between using it within the table setting and looking it up versus in the Excel document. So let's have a look at that. If you remember from the arm force field tables, the inputs into the tables are these angles. And that's because this is how they collected the data when they were doing the strength. Remember, with a arm force field, we are getting a manual arm strength, okay? And so these are how strong that person is in these different postures. Now, when we convert this now into an Excel, which is supposed to be easier to use than the lookup tables, it's converted into an input that is the distance that the hand, the palm, is away from the sternum or away from the shoulder, okay? So it's all about these distances here, here, up, down, relative to the shoulder, okay? Let's talk about what that really means. As you see here, you've got all these yellow inputs. You must put an input into anything that is yellow, okay, or at least one line. So normally we would put 75% female, and it's percent capable, and our female, meaning that it is set up for then the strength of the 25th percentile female. So we revert it to 75% of the female population would find this acceptable. My recommendation is start playing with these numbers of the left and the right, and you will see the Excel move. And when it moves, then you get an idea of all those directions, okay, instead of angles. Now, again, right here we're showing them it's 35 centimeters out, and that's from the center here out to the palm center, and the same idea relative to the shoulder is where we're measuring, which is different than the tables. Now, I want to bring to your attention you have to pay attention to orange and blue. Again, I would play with them so you know what you're doing, but pay attention here to the ranges. There are limits because of the way the data was collected. They did not do any strength data back here. So you cannot have a negative number in the forward and the backwards. So the maximum is 0. That's the minimum you can do in the backward movement, okay? And in the right, left, again, you can go across your body basically 20 centimeters, and you can only go out 50 centimeters. That is an assumption that the arm is 50 centimeters. And therefore, even if your subject has an arm greater than 50, it's a limit that has been set. So if you're at a full arm reach, pick 50, okay? And then the up, down, same idea. 50 is the arm length, so it won't let you go higher than that. And the 42 is a negative, which is our down. And again, it's probably because of not letting the force go way up here, but basically either a small bend or maybe the arm, the hand has to be bent. I am not sure what limits it to 42, but if you recall, they had limits when they collected the data, and so they feel that the range is out of these limits and therefore cannot be calculated. So you need to do the best you can within those limits, and again, match your picture, match your measurements to the pictures that come up here. Please note that the reach needs to be greater than 20 and less than 60. So again, we've talked about it cannot analyze a lift that was way back here or a movement there. Because of the way the setup was, remember it was in the zone of the 25 centimeters, 37 and a half, and 50, that's where the data is collected, and so there are ranges in there. So 50 is the arm length assumed, and nobody else can have that even if the person has an arm length greater than 50, it's being limited by that. And so you end up with those being just the ranges that this is in. So please be cognizant of that when you're entering your hand locations. Your vectors then, I tend to use 1s and 0s, but then I would also put in a high force so you can see the direction of the load. This is different than University of Michigan 3D. These are the directions that you are doing. So here in the blue, it's an up, and here in the purple, it's a down, okay? So that's the right arm, which is orange, is pushing down, and this blue arm, which is left, is pulling up, okay? Pushing up, or pulling up, okay? So you need to know that this is the direction that the person is moving, which is different than the 3D. So pay attention to that then as an input. And then I had not appreciated that you have to put something in the MAE equation. What the MAE equation is it's a different research than the arm force field. And what the MAE is doing is it is adjusting that arm strength for the frequency, and if you're holding a static posture, the duration of that effort, okay? So you must put in something in the MAE equation in order to modify the strength in that hand posture based on how many times you're doing it and how long each of those efforts are. So let's talk about what that means. As in hand pack, the thing that we sometimes want to know is, I don't want to modify it. What is a 1 a day, the maximum that they could do? So the way that you modify that then is, and I'm hoping that this tapes with this not over top of it. So what you do then is you actually put in a frequency of 1 once in the whole day, and you put the lowest effort duration, meaning it only took me 0.1 of a second to do it. And then you should see that your maximum arm strength, your manual arm strength was 102. It wasn't modified because it was only 1 a day at 0.1 of a second, and therefore your maximum acceptable is exactly that, the 102. So that's how you find out a non-modified maximum. Now, in most cases, we do something more than once, and we hold that effort for a duration. And so that's where these modifications need to go in, okay? So in this case, we had 48 of these pushes were being done in a day. And in the example that we've used sometimes in the lab is with a stretcher. So you would need to take the duration it took to push a stretcher, and then you could use that then as the duration. I did 48 sustained pushes, and each sustained push took 30 seconds, or what I have in there, 20 seconds to do that. And then it would modify it. Now remember what I just said, that's a sustained push. So then I would compare that to what I measured as a sustained force. So under my hand force, I would have put in what the sustained measurement was. Now, if I was doing this and I wanted to compare to the initial, I would use the initial force that I measured, and I would still have my frequency of probably 48, but my duration of effort would be much, much shorter, like maybe 0.2, 0.3 of a second, because I only had to push that. Yes, I had to do it 48 times, but I only had to push it to overcome that coefficient of friction. So that duration is really, really low. Okay, so MAE is inside the XL, and it modifies the arm force field. The arm force field data as itself is just your manual arm strength that you could perform in that in that posture. Again, it's all about measuring from the shoulder to that palm center in distance. All right, good luck.